All right, so we're going to get started. This is for the program and application forum for the Online MBA program, and we're really excited to see everyone here and give you some helpful tips and tricks for the application and also give you more detailed information about the program. So we're going to go to the next slide. Thank you. And for today, we're going to do some introductions with who's on the panel. We're going to do a program overview of what all encompasses the Online MBA program. And then we'll do a few review of the admissions process, just talking about what you can expect once you submit an application. And then at the end, we'll have some time for some questions and answers. So to start, we have Hanna and Beth here. They're both associate directors of the Online MBA program. Hanna and Beth, you want to introduce yourselves super quick?
Yeah, I'll go first, I guess. My name's Hanna Nosain. Like Steph said, I'm the associate director of admissions for the Online MBA program, and I have worked at SMU Cox for the last 3 years, and I've worked actually across all our program formats. So I've worked with our full-time, our on-campus part-time, and then now the online, which is obviously a part-time program as well. So super excited to see you all here tonight and be chatting with you.
And I'm Beth Wiersbicki. It's nice to meet everyone. I've been with SMU just since January, so I'm pretty new there myself. I've been working in admissions for 8 years, was at another school in the Northeast prior to coming to SMU, and spent most of my career in the corporate world doing finance and consulting. So I'm happy to be on the admissions side now, working with our students.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. And again, I'm Steph. I'm the enrollment advisor for the program. There's a few other enrollment advisors as well, so you may be chatting with any of us, but we're excited that you're all here. Again, just to introduce you to SMU and the Cox School of Business, if you're not familiar, we are located in the heart of Dallas. It's definitely, a larger school with a small feeling and a world-class campus. So we have intimate private school setting where you're able to get a lot of one-on-one instruction with your professors, but certainly the professors are distinguished, and we are certainly have our open door policies. As a Cox School of Business student, you definitely will feel part of an extraordinary community that reaches beyond our campus. So we're very much a globally connected school. And as an online student, you will definitely feel supported, and it will be a very personalized environment with faculty and staff who are dedicated to helping you, definitely as a working professional, and to get the most out of your online MBA experience. So we're going to move on to the next slide, and I'm going to pass it off to Hanna, and she's going to talk about the curriculum.
Thanks, Steph. So as some of you may know, our online program is a newer program. We just started last May, so we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, which we are also excited about. And really when we thought about kind of transitioning from our on-campus programs to adding an online program to our suite of options, what we did is we'd spend a long time researching what was needed out there by corporate recruiters. So we had our top faculty really lead the process and do a year-long kind of research project to say, okay, of our corporate partners, like what all are you looking for in students that are graduating? Like what skills do you want from our alumni or students recently becoming alumni? And then so we gathered all that information, we kind of put it together to create the curriculum that we've come up with. And so what we found is that, the companies we work with, they really want people who will become leaders that can solve complex problems and do that by using data. So not just saying like, hey, here's what I think needs to happen, but really being able to back up their problem solving with, hey, this is what I've looked at when I've analyzed this data. This is what I see is needed. And then really being able to lead based on data-driven results. Resiliency, so people who aren't just gonna say, oh, that was the wrong thing, but I'm gonna keep pushing forward because I want to and I have that pride, right? Like people who can put their pride aside and really say, okay, that wasn't the right thing, I made a mistake, what did I learn from that, what can I do? And so we teach that in the program too, like how do you be resilient, how do you kind of have mistakes, make mistakes gracefully and humbly. And then also the technical knowledge, right? So of course they have to be able to understand like the data, finance, accounting, all those hard numbers, statistics, things like that. But also, like, when you're presented with new data, are you willing to make changes in ambiguous situations? So right now, obviously in COVID-19, we are seeing lots of ambiguity, and our students are learning firsthand kind of how some of our leaders are responding to that. And so working through things like that. So go ahead to the next slide, please, and we'll talk a little bit more about our pillars. So like I said, leadership, analytics, experiential learning, I kind of touched on those things, but we'll go a little bit more in depth here. So first thing, leadership, you know, we want, actually, is my next slide, sorry guys, is my next slide like the examples of this? Yes. Okay, sorry, go back then, Erin. I'll focus on our little bullet points there, and then I'll go into the in the next slide. So the small class size, 15 people per class. This upcoming May, we have a cohort of about 45 starting, but that'll be split into 3 class sizes and cohorts. So you're never in class with more than about 15 to 18 people. And what that really allows for is a strong discussion. Being able to really get to know your professors, get to know your classmates, and be able to work together with them. Then the weekly live classes. So I'm sure y'all, as you're looking into different online programs, you see that some of our programs, some other programs may just have all asynchronous content, which means you're just doing the coursework at your own pace whenever you have time to log in. But the weekly live classes are part of the SMU curriculum. So you will log in twice a week for 90 minutes and get to know your classmates and professors really well. We do require 2 immersions. They can be domestic or international, but they will be trips where you are working with companies on consulting projects, learning from global leaders on kind of real world problem solving, and then the resources and support. So for all of our students, whether you are an on-campus student or an online student, there's no difference in the support that you receive. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in terms of what that means. But for now, Erin, you can go ahead to the next slide, please. So when I mention our foundational pillars, you can kind of see on the screen here some of the things that we think about in each of those columns. So leadership, in the program, we have an executive leadership course. What's really cool is that you see leadership and analytics are 2 of the pillars. The first 2 classes you'll take in this program are based on leadership and analytics. So we have managing and leading people, and then we have a data analytics class. So we're really starting you off kind of saying, hey, these are our pillars. This is what we think is important. So we're going to start you with these topics so that as you go through the program, it really is going to weave itself through every single course you take. But with that leadership, like I said before, it's a cohort model. So you're going to get an opportunity to lead your classmates in different projects, work in teams. On the immersions, we have panelists that are C-level executives that are going to be talking to you from top corporations. Just this past December, our students went to London and met with executives at Microsoft. So really, you know, getting exposure to top leaders across different companies. And then building those executive communication skills, we do have a business leadership center as well. In analytics, so you're going to take 2 very specific analytics courses. One of those will be in your first semester, but really being able to develop an analytical mindset and be able to make decisions based on data, which we talked about. And then in the experiential learning, we will have case studies that relate to a variety of different industries. The immersions, which I'll talk about in a little bit, really allow you to work on a real world project with real companies. And then that 7th semester is going to be an actual capstone project that you're not actually attending class, you're working with a real company on a problem that they have and you're helping to solve it. And then the ambiguous environments we kind of talked about. Our executive director of the online program, David Jacobson, is really big on the complex problem solving in ambiguous environment. So he is known for, you know, creating simulations or projects that don't have one right answer. They are designed to have, you know, lots of different answers and lots of things to think about. And so oftentimes his homework is actually like a week-long discussion that, you know, throughout the week you can chime in and add your thoughts to maybe a problem that he presents as you all kind of try and figure out a way to solve it, and he kind of gives you new information as the week goes on. And so really kind of saying in business, there's never a black or white, right or wrong answer. It's never so clear cut. Oftentimes it's very ambiguous. It could be done different ways, solved different ways based on a lot of different factors. And so he really wants you to take all those things into account. So that experiential learning throughout the program is really going to help you in your jobs, the jobs that you have now, or once you graduate, to really say, okay, there's not always one right answer. How do I really think about and be comfortable in ambiguous situations? And then we can move on to the next slide. Thanks. So here you see just a snapshot of what the curriculum is. You'll notice that some semesters have more courses than others. Do not panic. You are not going to be in 4 classes at the same time during the 6th semester. What we do is, so for semester 1, you can see that it's 2 classes. You'll be in those 2 classes for the entirety of the semester. In semester 6, you're actually in each of those classes for only 7 weeks. So you'll be in 2 classes at a time, but halfway through the semester you switch. There are a couple semesters where you see there is a 3rd class. So for example, semester 2, legal environments of business, that's a 7-week class, but it runs in the middle of the semester. So you're not going to have like 3 finals at one time. It's going to run from maybe weeks, 3 to 10 or 4 to 11. Our professors are pretty good about making sure that you're never too overwhelmed in terms of, how many classes you're in at the same time. So you'll take a total of 52 credit hours. 4 of those credits are going to be the 2 immersions that you take. So those are 2 credit hours each. It's worth noting that you can take the immersion or travel to the immersions at any point in the program. We offer 2 per year, and you can choose 1 domestic and 1 international. You can choose 2 domestic, or you can choose 2 international, and those can be kind of on your schedule, whichever one works best for you, as so long as you take 2 over those entire 7 semesters. And then the last thing I wanted to mention about those immersions in terms of them being credit hours, because they're credits, the immersions are credit hours. They're included in your tuition, but depending on when you on the immersions, your tuition per semester could fluctuate. So that's something that we get asked a lot. And I just saw a question pop up asking how long the immersions are. That's a great question. They're 4 days, give or take a day, depending on where in the world you are. So we can go on to the next slide. And then earlier I had kind of mentioned that you have access to all the same resources that our on-campus students have access to. So a couple of those things here, you can see, I'll note, the Career Management Center is able to give virtual appointments as well as on campus. So for anyone who's an online student, regardless of whether you live in Dallas or around the country, you're welcome to access those resources. If you do live in Dallas, you're welcome to come on campus for any reason, whether it's to study, whether it's to meet with the Career Management Center, whether it's to meet, with a club, because you have access to clubs. We have different centers and institutes on campus that have different industry focuses. And then we have, a board mentorship program, alumni recruiting. So any of the networking events, if you're in Dallas, you're welcome to attend. If you're not in Dallas, you have access to all of those things remotely and virtually. And then slide. So I've obviously talked about the immersions a little bit through the curriculum slides. This past December, we had a group of students go to London, and you can see the title up there was Managing in an Age of Ambiguity and Flux. And it's funny hearing David Jacobson, our executive director, talk about it, because he said he left that trip after hearing a lot about Brexit and just how that is impacting so many sectors of life in Europe, right? It's the economy, it's family lives, like little kids specifically are like, what does this mean for my family? So we partnered with an organization that is actually providing resources to families and kids who are maybe going through anxiety. But David said that after learning about, kind of all this ambiguity that they're facing, he said, I don't even know how anyone would ever be able to top such an ambiguous situation. Like, how would anyone feel with something more ambiguous than like a country leaving another set of countries. And we are obviously living that right now in COVID-19. And so he said, you know, we've topped it. And so this has been a great opportunity for students who are on that trip to take away some of their learnings and really apply it to what's happening now in their own organizations. Beth, I saw, just posted the link to our video. So I encourage you all to just save that link and watch the 2.5-minute video that recaps the London trip specifically. This summer, our trip will be the immersion will be in Dallas. We are celebrating our 100th year anniversary at Cox. And so we thought, you know, what better place to be than in Dallas to really be able to celebrate everything Cox has done over the last century. And then in December, we'll be going to Singapore. So we will announce each year where the next, at each domestic immersion, we announce where the next domestic will be, and at each international, we announce the next international. So we're not even sure yet where next year's 2021 trips will be, but those will be announced in the coming months, I guess. So that's kind of an overview of those immersions. Like I said, it is a requirement of the program, but it's included with your tuition since the credit hours are counting towards your degree. And then I think that's it for me. Okay.
Thank you, Hannah. Awesome. Thank you. And I just wanted to say the trips are super exciting and a great way to network. I know that that's one of the major things that people want to get out of an MBA. So definitely I would just continue and add to what Hannah said, that it really is a great way to add on to your experience with the MBA. So now we're going to talk about the admissions process. So first we're going to talk about what you can expect from the application, and then we'll go over, what you can expect after you submit an application. So first and foremost, there's an online application. I would like to mention that it's totally free to apply, so there's no application fee. We do require a professional resume. Please make it as comprehensive as possible. We do not want, we don't limit to one page, so definitely don't worry about that. And then there's 2 essays that you'll need to write. Each essay is at a maximum of 250 words each, so not super long. Again, we really want to get to know you as a candidate, so just be as specific as possible. Usually we require the GMAT, GRE, or the executive assessment. Currently, right now, with everything that's going on with the COVID-19 virus, with the testing centers being closed, we're actually waiving the exam for all applicants for the summer 2020 and the fall 2020 entry terms. So right now, the summer 2020 is still open. If you are interested, please reach out to us to ask any questions. But I do want to mention that we are waiving the exam for all applicants for the summer 2020 and the fall 2020 entry terms. As far as in the future, of course, we can't really tell with what's going on right now. So definitely, we'll keep you posted on that. But as far as summer and fall, it is being waived for all applicants. We do require unofficial transcripts for the application. Once you are accepted into the program, then we would need official transcripts. But for your application, you can send us, you can upload a screenshot to the application. You can log into a portal if you have access and download a PDF copy of your transcript. That's absolutely fine for the application. But we do need to see GPA, grades, and the fact that you graduated from the institution. We also require 2 professional references, and I saw in the chat that there was a question about letters of recommendation. We do not require letters of recommendation. We just require the contact information for the 2 individuals that you're choosing for your references. So that would be name, phone number, email address, how what their position is at their company, and how they're related to you. If they're a supervisor, that's great. We actually recommend having one of your professional references as a supervisor, or a boss, or anyone that was in charge of you recently or in the past. The other one is really up to you. We just recommend that it's someone that can speak to your leadership skills, and someone that could talk about your professional development. And then if you're joining us from an international, you would need to take the TOEFL or the IELTS or the PTE. Again, that's being waived right now with everything that's going on with the virus. So please reach out to us if you have any questions about that. The last piece on the application is an optional statement. It's also at a maximum of 250 words. So this is anything that you feel might be to help strengthen your application. Maybe if you're worried about something on your application, if you wanted to speak to it, please, take that opportunity to write in it in the optional statement. Again, it's optional, so it's not required. Please don't feel like you need to write an optional statement. But again, it just really helps us get to know you as candidates, which is really our main goal. And that's also highlighted by our interview. So once you submit the application, someone from the admissions team will reach out to you within a day or two. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. They'll reach out to you to schedule an interview. And currently, with everything that's going on with the virus, it is only virtual interviews. Before all this started, and hopefully, when everything is finished, we will have in-person interviews available. But for the time being, it is a virtual interview. It's going to be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. You can treat it almost like a job interview. So really, again, just knowing what your goals are post-MBA, knowing some details about SMU Cox School of Business are super helpful, making sure that you're familiar with our curriculum and knowing exactly what you want to get out of the program. And then definitely just showing us who you are and helping us get to know you. So those are the main admissions requirements. Do we have any questions about that before we move on? I know that was a ton of information. All right, great. So just some tips for creating a strong application. Number one would definitely be get to know us. So as you can see, we are here. We're open to answering any of your questions. And we really would love to set up a one-on-one phone call with you. So if you could set up a time to speak with us, myself, Hanna Beth, I can see that Aaron just popped up on the screen. He's also an enrollment advisor for the program. There's many others that work on this program, so you're certainly more than welcome to set up a one-on-one appointment with us, and that can be through the phone. We do Zoom sessions as well, so please don't be afraid to reach out to us to talk about the program and so we can get to know you. As far as your resume goes, I mentioned that definitely you can go over a page. We recommend that you list more than just your positions and job responsibilities, really show exactly what you've achieved in each role. And I would definitely recommend making it connect somehow to what you're doing as far as the MBA program. With your essays, definitely be specific. It is at a 250 word limit, so it makes it difficult to go on and on about a different topic. So definitely be as specific as possible. For your test scores, again, everything's being waived right now. In the past, before we had all this going on, we did have a waiver available for candidates that qualified. So you don't have to worry about that right now, but if you're looking at the spring of 2021 or anything after that, please feel free to ask us about our waiver policy and we can talk about that as well. As far as the transcripts go, I already mentioned that unofficial is fine for the application. Again, a screenshot of your transcripts, including your grades, GPA, and the fact that you graduated. If you have the ability to log into your portal, I know that some things are running slower or unavailable with everything that's going on with the virus. So if you're having any issues getting your transcripts, please just communicate that to us. We're very flexible with everything that's going on. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out to us and let us know that you're having issues. And then for the references, again, I already mentioned this, but please make one of them at least a current or former supervisor, and both will need to be able to speak to your skills, strengths, and weaknesses. Absolutely. Any questions about the tips for creating a strong application? I think I see one in the chat right now. The question was from Cody. Thank you, Cody. Oh, go ahead, Hanna.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to answer it, but I mean, either one of the answer. But you're asking about essay topics. So basically, it's going to be about your goals, like why you want the MBA and what you plan to do with the MBA, and then also about maybe a time where you've changed your position on something based on new information. So it's really easy. If you start an application, you can go through the whole application and kind of see what the essays are. Like Steph said, they're just 250 words. And my tip for essays is always to write it and then give it to someone you trust without the essay prompt, and just have them read the essay and then have them tell you what they think you were answering. So if they say, hey, I think you were supposed to tell about a story that impacted your life, and you're really trying to answer why you want an MBA, like maybe you've missed the mark. But if they say, hey, you know, it sounds like you're answering like why you want the MBA, then you know you're on the right track. So that's one way that you can be certain you're answering the prompt, is just having someone read it without knowing the question. But it's, I mean, be prepared to talk about your goals and why the MBA.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. Definitely, I think that's a great tip. And if I could add just one more, I would say proofread. Make sure all your periods are there, everything's spelled right. Nothing can ruin an essay more than a bad grammatical error or a bad spelling error. So definitely proofread. But yes, Hannah, that's a great tip to have someone else look it over. Awesome. All right, we can go to the next slide. And I think this is all about the interview. So Hannah or Beth, do you have anything you want to describe about the interview? I already mentioned it's similar to a job interview, but is there anything that students can do to prepare specifically?
I can jump in. I think it's always helpful when applicants have had a chance to sort of review the website and kind of take a look at what we have to offer, and maybe come up with some good questions as to you know, anything that's not clear or anything you want more clarification about. But really, I would say the interview, we just want to get to know you, find out more about why you want your MBA, hear more about your experience. And you know, it's more of a two-way conversation. So pretty informal. Hannah, do you have anything to add?
I was just going to say, it's definitely conversational. I mean, Beth and I do interviews along with one other member on our team, Jill, and I feel like all of us are non-scary people. I see someone on the call who I interviewed earlier, so I'm sure, you know, he could maybe attest to the fact that I'm nice in an interview and just want to get to know you. I don't throw any big curveballs. It's really like a job interview, like Steph said. Be behavioral based, be prepared to speak, you know, about your background and things that you've done and things you're proud of at work.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you. Yeah, definitely not scary. All right. Any questions about the interview before we move on? Go ahead, Hannah, go ahead.
Yeah, I see. So it asks, are there invitation only? Are most applicants in, or is it less common and for special occasions? So I would say we like to get to know candidates. So if a candidate presents an application that is overall very strong, even if there's maybe one or two things that we're worried about, we would err on the side of interviewing so that we can get to know you. So I would say, I don't know if it's necessarily most applicants, but I would say if you spend time on your application, put together, you know, a thoughtful essay responses, resume, we will interview people who have taken the process seriously. If there's something that you're worried about, this is where Steph's tip from earlier, like get to know us, set up a call with one of the enrollment advisors. You can do that really easily by going to our website and just say, like, is it get to know us? I think there's a button. It's really obvious when you go to the website, but schedule a call, because honestly, I would say of the people that talk to our enrollment advisors, we probably interview almost 100% of the people that like set up time to meet with our enrollment advisors. So Beth, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I also have virtual office hours. I used to have, before we were all working from home, I had in-office hours, but now I have virtual office hours. So anyone can sign up online to chat with me as well. And that's just an informal Q&A kind of thing. So not,
I had
not
a question.
interview.
Hello,
Sure.
this is Rashid Reed. As far as the interview, I know that we're going to be doing virtual interviews, but would we just dress how comfortably we would be in an interview, or is it dress for your day? Can you talk to that as far as the interview process?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Beth.
Sure. I was going to say, you know, things are a little different now with everyone working from home, and we understand that. So I would say typically when before all this kind of started, we would see people suited up, I would say, for the interview. So you know, assume you're doing it like a job interview. I would say dress how you're dressing for a job interview. Certainly now with everybody working from home, we understand that people are probably dressing more casually. But, you know, I would say, you know, be professional and business casual anyway right now. Do you all agree with that, Hannah?
Yeah, I would say from home, the suit probably isn't necessary, but definitely would want to see you in, you know, business casual, like not just maybe shorts and a t-shirt. I guess people wouldn't know if you're wearing shorts, but maybe not a t-shirt.
Well, I would think that you would dress with a suit up top and then bottoms, wear some pajamas.
There you go.
That works too.
We just want to know that people are taking it seriously. So, I mean, I would say look put together. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Rashid. Anyone else have any questions about the interview? All right, I think we're good to go. So again, if you have any questions about next steps, please don't be afraid to reach out. That's our direct line, that 214-842-6486. So that will go to all the enrollment advisors. And then that email down there, the cox.mbaonline@smu.edu, that's to our general inbox. So any one of the enrollment advisors, Hannah and Beth, will all see that. So if you're at all interested or wanted to set up an appointment, please don't be afraid to reach out to us. And I know somewhere in the chat, someone said that the deadline is in 2 days. Yes, that's correct. The application deadline for the summer cohort start is this Friday. That's April 10th. And it's certainly doable. So definitely don't be afraid of that deadline. It should not take you more than a day to complete it. You know, we already talked about how short the essays are. So definitely, if you're having any issues, don't be afraid to reach out. And I know Beth mentioned in the chat that, you know, if you need another day, that's fine. We just need to hear from you. So please communicate to us if you're having any issues submitting an application by Friday. But again, we're shooting for Friday. But of course, if you have any questions about that or any concerns, don't be afraid to reach out. Once you submit the application, I see a question here. When will applicants find out if they've been accepted for May? Hannah and Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually it's a pretty quick turnaround, anywhere from a week to a week and a half, sometimes 2 weeks, but I know that we're trying to do it quicker with how quickly the classes are coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, right now, I would say Beth and I are looking at applications being submitted, and usually like within, I would say 4 or 5 hours, we're reaching out to people, maybe a day to find out if you're being invited for interview. But we're trying to schedule interviews pretty quickly since classes start in about 4 weeks. So, I mean, if you submit, I would say probably 7 days, as long as you're able to do an interview within a few days of submitting, we can get a decision within a week for sure. And then I see another question about 90 minutes of synchronous classes per week, how many hours of asynchronous, and what is your expectation for reading and homework time per week? I would say current students have told us that the time commitment overall is about 20 hours per week. Class time, homework, async, learning components all together, so about 20, maybe 25 hours a week. It could go up or down for you per semester depending on how familiar or comfortable you are with subject matters. So, you know, if one of the semesters is more quant heavy and you're familiar or you're really comfortable with quant, maybe it'll be less for you than someone who doesn't have as much quant experience. That could vary a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks for the great questions, everyone. Any other questions about the application or the program? Last thing I'll add is that the classes do start May 4th. So let us know if you're interested in starting that soon. I know it's coming up, but it's definitely doable, and we're here to help you with the process. Absolutely.
And I just wanted to add one other thing. So one of the things that I was asked recently in an interview, which I think is a good question and something that maybe you all would benefit from hearing. The question was kind of what makes SMU different than other online programs. And so I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. So first of all, I think when people think about an online, they might wonder if they're really going to get the community aspect. And I think that's one of the things SMU Cox does really, really well, is creating a really tight community. So one of the ways you heard, we have 15 students per cohort. So you're really getting to know your classmates. Your professors are going to know you. There's nowhere to hide. Like, I see all your faces. There's going to be a discussion. But we have a lot of other things that we offer. So for example, we have been doing, in the last few weeks, there's been a lot of anxiety, obviously, around COVID-19 and people's schedules being completely disrupted and, working from home. And so David Jacobson, our executive director, and then Jill Melton, the director of admissions, they've started doing a bi-weekly breakfast chat called Breakfast with David and Jill. And the last couple of weeks that we've been doing it, we've had, anywhere between 25 and 35 people sign on. And it's been a really great opportunity for people to connect and kind of idea share about, hey, like, now that we're working from home, what are tips and, tips for success and strategies that other people have implemented. And so we've been having like really rich discussions. And so these breakfasts, remotely, as we're all in our own homes, but able to still be connecting. And so I think, the aspect of community at SMU Cox is really something that we strive for, and we're continually doing new things to make sure that the community stays strong and you're really getting to know your cohort. So those are my last thoughts. I don't know, Beth, if you had any last thoughts that you wanted to share.
No, I agree with what you just said, and I was going to just add to, in terms of the breakfast chats, I know in the last one, some of the people on the chat were asking about, can we have various speakers, whether it be speakers to speak to kind of what's happening in the world right now in terms of the economy and COVID, and or some people who can speak to the healthcare aspect of it. So David Jacobson, who's got a lot of connections, was able to really quickly set those up for us. So we're going to have some really great conversation about how this is impacting us here and around the world. So David's a great resource, and we'd always be happy to connect any applicants with David as well if they'd like to speak with him in more depth about the program.
All right, great. Any last questions before we jump off here for the night? I know, as when Beth was just talking about meeting with David, we also have class visits available if anyone wants to experience a class and see what it's like being in that 90-minute synchronous live virtual session. You can meet some of the students that are in the program. You can meet with the professor. So that is available as well. And let us know if you are interested in that, and we can set that up. Any questions? Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We really, really appreciate your time. We hope everyone's well and staying inside. So definitely, please let us know if you have any questions. I see someone just asked for our emails. I think Hannah's typing it in the in the chat. But definitely don't be afraid to reach out. And we look forward to speaking with you and hopefully seeing your applications come through soon. Have a great night, everybody.